Since upgrading to a hatching time cabinet style incubator, I've dedicated my Maticoopx30 to be used as a hatcher, but my cabinet is currently at max capacity, so I've actually gone ahead and installed my egg turner motor back onto my Maticoop. That way I can use it for the entire duration of incubation. At the base of the incubator, you have your removable floor grid. You also have your egg turner arm, which sits in this slot over here. And then you have your 5 egg baskets, which have arms on each side. The double arm will go on the left side of the incubator and sit into those 2 notches. It's also very important that you're using a secondary thermometer and hydrometer, as not all incubators are calibrated correctly and false readings are extremely common. My top recommendation for brands would be ThermPro, but I do also use these little ones from Amazon and have found that they read identically to the ThermoPro. No matter how consistent your incubator has been, it's always recommended that you have it running for at least 24 hours before adding your eggs. This is to ensure that it's maintaining proper temperature and humidity before you begin incubation. I've placed my secondary thermometer and hydrometer in the egg basket to get an accurate reading of what the temperature and humidity will be at that location. Now that I've placed the lid on my incubator, I'm going to plug in my power cord as well as my egg turner cord. Since I've just finished with a hatch in here, I'm going to go ahead and reset my day count. There we go. The factory setting of this incubator is set to 99.5 degrees, which is recommended, but once the incubator comes to temperature, although it may read 99.5 up here, it's very important that our secondary thermometer also reads 99.5. If it's too low, you'll actually want to go ahead and up the temperature setting, and if it's too high, you'll lower it. So depending on what your secondary thermometer is reading, you'll know where you need to adjust. Another very important thing you'll want to pay attention to is your humidity level. In my experience, the readout on this incubator actually reads about 10 to 15% higher than what it actually is, and that's why having a secondary thermometer and hydrometer is very important. Depending on your climate, you can actually incubate one of 2 ways. You can dry hatch, which means adding no water to the incubator until lockdown, or you can add water from the very beginning. To figure out if dry hatching may be an option for you, you'll want to run your incubator dry with no eggs or water for about 24 hours and your vent only open about a quarter of the way. After about 24 hours, if your secondary hydrometer is reading 25% or above, then you're safe to dry hatch. Anything below 25% generally isn't recommended for incubation. Where I'm located in Middle Georgia, dry hatching just isn't an option for me because doing it this way, my humidity sits at about 19%, which is just too dry. What works for me is incubating with the vent fully open and using the auto-filling water bottle that comes with the unit. The water bottle inserts just like this, and it'll fill up on its own and stop when the small reservoir at the front part of the incubator is full. In my experience of using this incubator with the vent fully open as well as the auto-filling water bottle, it brings my humidity to right about 45 to 46%, which is perfect. It's very common that tabletop incubators, and especially these models that have clear tops, don't hold an even temperature. What I do to help with this, and has worked awesome, is wrap a small blanket around the incubator. If you do choose to wrap your incubator, it's very important that you're not covering this front vent. There is a small circular vent over here at the back of the incubator, but that one is perfectly okay to cover. It's this one that you want to make sure is never covered. Now that I have everything set, I'm going to check back in about 24 hours to see where our temperature and humidity is sitting, and if all looks good, we'll be ready to add our eggs. Alright, it's been 24 hours, so I've removed the blanket and I'm going to see where we're at. Looks like we are at 44% humidity and 99.2 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty close to perfect, so I'm going to go ahead and prepare my eggs. Since these baskets are made for chicken eggs, it can be a little tricky setting your quail eggs in it, but it's definitely doable. I also have these jumbo egg trays that I ordered for my hatching time incubator, but I found that they do fit in the Maticoop baskets pretty well. I've got all 5 of my egg baskets filled up with an assortment of jumbo as well as standard size Coturnix quail eggs, and in total I was able to fit 68. Before I remove the lid, I'm going to manually rotate my egg turner to a better angle to make it easier to insert the egg baskets. To do that, all you have to do is press the plus button and your egg turner arm will move. Then you'll want to press it again once your egg turner arm notch lines up with the notch at the side of the incubator. Now I'm going to carefully remove the lid and set it aside. Now I'm going to insert my egg baskets, making sure that the double arm is on the left side and that the single arm sits into that notch on the right. So my secondary thermometer and hydrometer doesn't move around and hit the eggs when the baskets rotate. I'm going to place it to the side over here. Now I'm going to add my lid back on, making sure that it's sitting correctly in the grooves. And I'm going to plug my egg turner cord back in. I've got it all wrapped up again, making sure not to cover the vent, and I'll check back in a couple hours after the temperature and humidity has stabilized after we've opened and closed it to make sure that we're still reading correctly. It's been a couple of hours and we're reading at 46% humidity and 99.3 degrees Fahrenheit, which is perfect. Coturnix quail hatch in about 17 days, so on day 14 we'll put these eggs into lockdown, meaning we'll remove them from their egg turning baskets, lay them at the bottom of the incubator, boost our humidity, and that will prepare them for hatching. This incubator is generally set it and forget it, but I would recommend that every few days you check your secondary thermometer and hydrometer just to make sure that the incubator is still working as it should. If you're like me, I like to peek in there twice a day. The only other thing you'll have to pay attention to if using it is the autofilling water bottle. In my experience, it gets low about every 4 days, so that's how often I need to refill it. So things may look a little bit different. Unfortunately, I did forget to record the process of putting the eggs into lockdown. Those eggs have since hatched and those chicks were moved into the brooder. The hatch went excellent. This is actually a brand new Maticoopx30. This is my second one. I just got it yesterday. I actually hope to get another 1 or 2 of them. It's just made things super efficient having a separate hatcher. This is my first one that I've had for a year now. I've just loaded it up again. I've got, I think, upwards of 80 quail eggs in there this time. I was able to cram a bunch in there. But I did still want to explain the process of lockdown. So I have some eggs that we're incubating in my cabinet incubator, and we're gonna move those into this incubator today for lockdown and hatching. With this being a brand new incubator, I've had it plugged in and running empty with no eggs for at least 24 hours with a secondary thermometer and hydrometer to verify temperature and humidity. As we know, the readouts on incubators are not always calibrated correctly, so it's very important that you're using a secondary one that you can trust. Everything is operating perfectly as it should, so I'm going to go ahead and get the eggs from my cabinet incubator, handle them real quick, and then place them into lockdown. So when it comes to putting your eggs in lockdown, I highly recommend cutting a piece of this grippy shelf liner material to lay at the bottom of the incubator so the chicks have more traction, and this will also help prevent splay leg. Because I won't be able to easily ID these chicks from one another, I am actually going to use hatching baskets. These baskets are from Hatching Time. They work awesome. I got them specifically for my Hatching Time incubator, but I have found that they fit perfectly in the Maticoop. If you're interested in these baskets, one 15-egg basket and one 6-egg basket fit together in the Maticoop, or you can fit 3 of these 6-egg baskets. So I have actually gotten myself into a little bit of a pickle here. My development rate was so good this batch that I have overflow. These 12 eggs were a part of this variety in this basket, and I can't fit them in there. So I'm gonna take a bit of a risk here and set these 12 eggs over here in this little space that I have available. Fingers crossed that all goes well and they don't get stuck into the small spaces. It's definitely possible. In fact, I'm gonna remove the arm. I would not recommend that you do this unless you had removed the egg turner motor at the base of the incubator. I have this Maticoop is used specifically as a hatcher, so I removed it. It's very easy to remove and install back on if you need to incubate in here again. I would have liked to cut a piece of shelf liner to give them that grippy surface for traction, but I've already had the incubator open for quite a while and I don't want to risk these eggs getting chilled, so I'm just going to leave it as it is. I'm also gonna put in my secondary thermometer and hydrometer. Where can I put this? We'll go right, where should I put it? There we go. I don't think a chick will knock that over. Now I'm gonna place my lid back on, making sure that we're in all 4 of those notches. And at lockdown, the egg turner is no longer needed, so you can go ahead and unplug that cord. And now for the last step before I cover the incubator back up, we're gonna remove this water bottle and its cap attachment. We're gonna fill it up all the way and then pour that 1 full water bottle directly into the port, and that will fill up both reservoirs in the incubator, which will boost your humidity to where you need it for lockdown. Got my 1 full water bottle, so I'm gonna carefully pour that in here. Now that we've poured a full bottle's worth of water into the incubator, you'll see your humidity climb. It's also very important that if you had your vent at the front partially closed during incubation, that you fully open it for lockdown. So as we could see in the instruction manual, it says that pouring 1 full bottle of water into the incubator can maintain about 65% humidity for approximately 4 days, but it's very important to know that this varies widely depending on your climate. Where I'm located in Middle Georgia, and also considering the temperature and humidity of the room that I have my incubator in, if I were to only use that 1 full water bottle initially at lockdown, my humidity would actually begin to decline at about the 48-hour mark, because where I am, it just evaporates much quicker. So what I do to prevent the water level from getting low and causing a drop in humidity, which can negatively affect your hatch rate, is every 24 hours following that initial pour, I will pour 1 cup of water into the port every 24 hours until the hatch is over. Doing so maintains about 65 to 66% humidity for me, which is absolutely perfect. Now that I have my incubator covered up again, I'm gonna leave it alone for a couple hours, and then I'll check at what the humidity and temperature is reading after it's had some time to stabilize. It's been a couple of hours, so I'm just gonna peek in here and see where things are at now that it's stabilized. We are at 65% humidity and 99.6 degrees Fahrenheit, which is perfect. So now I'm gonna let this be, and in 24 hours, I'll pour 1 cup of water into the port, and then again 24 hours following that. But otherwise, there is nothing else to do. In a couple of days, these eggs will start to pip, and we'll have chicks. It's now the morning of day 17, which is typically when Coturnix quail chicks begin to hatch. So I'm gonna take a peek in here and see if we've got anything. Oh, we've got a couple babies. Looks like we've got about 4 that have hatched so far, and they must have just hatched within the past maybe hour or 2, because all of these guys over here look very wet. This guy is just barely starting to fluff up. I can see lots of egg pips. See this basket. Also seeing egg pips, which is awesome. So within the next 24 to 48 hours, these baskets are going to be full of fluffy babies. Checking my secondary hydrometer, it looks like humidity is sitting at 68%, which is perfect. I aim for 65% humidity at lockdown, and once your chicks start hatching, that humidity level will spike, so definitely don't be alarmed if you notice that. We're now at the 24-hour mark since the first couple of chicks has started to hatch, so I'm going to take a quick peek in here. And look at those babies! Looking into both of my baskets, it seems that we are over 50% hatched, and as tempting as it may be to take these dry, fluffy chicks out of the incubator and into the brooder, you do not want to open the incubator until they have all hatched, because opening the incubator will cause a rapid change in humidity, which then risks the eggs that have not hatched being shrink wrapped. I remove chicks from the incubator 48 hours from when I notice the first couple have hatched. That's just my preference. Some people wait longer, some people pull them at 24 hours. But in my experience, at 24 hours, there are still a good number of eggs that are in the process of hatching, and then by 48 hours, anything unhatched at that point is unlikely to hatch.